Good morning. Hey, it's me. I'm making a video today. And I was thinking about something that was really profound. I won't look at the camera that much because I'm eating a Pop-Tart. I ate 4 of these Pop-Tarts today. I was telling my daughter, this is the most Pop-Tarts I think I've ever had sitting in my entire life. I'm doing some physical stuff, so I don't want to be grumpy once I get dehydrated. Anywho, I never eat Pop-Tarts, but they're good. I hadn't had Pop-Tarts probably in 8 or 9 years. So I don't know, today, I'm like, why not a Pop-Tart? Anyway, but this video is gonna be kind of called like making God a side note. And what that means is, I'm sorry, I was sick. I was like jaundice or something. I'm sorry, I'm just throwing that out. That's why my eyes have been yellow. I had some sort of pancreatitis thing or whatever. I'm trying to clean up my act and drink more water and stop drinking and all that other good stuff. Anyway, but making God a side note. What that means essentially is I was watching a video, and there's a celebrity and he was talking and he started talking about his faith, and it was good because it was from like a faith-based studio, and the person who was interviewing was like a pastor or something like that, but it was giving the glory to God, and it was so interesting. It made my heart so happy because I was at the gym yesterday and I ran into a guy that I used to know who was a police officer, and he used to be a police officer. He retired. He's, a pastor now. He's helping people. And he was talking to another guy, and he's a pastor. And I just went and kind of nudged him on the shoulder and said, "Good seeing you." And somehow how good God is. And I said all the time because, God's done so much for me. And I'll start talking about that more as time progresses. But, I haven't lived the best life. I haven't lived the worst life either. But God shows up in amazing places, and you never know when it's going to happen and work for you. Anywho, getting back to that, making God a side note, he really put him foremost in the forefront, rather. And I thought that was cool because a lot of that doesn't happen. And I've had this conversation with other people where it's really interesting. And I've made some videos. I don't think I've really made too many, but I'll tell people stories. I do some amateur comedy. I've really gotten out there yet. But it's like, you could talk about all kinds of stuff, whether it's TV or whether it's just people, with the right audience, obviously. But it could be like, oh man, I was out last night and met some strippers, and I was doing cocaine off their titties and having such a great time. The conversation can be like that, or even a million times bigger, and people are laughing and people are going with it, and it's just kind of like, that's just the shit that happened that night, and it's okay. Nothing wrong with it either way. However, if someone were to say, I wanted to clean up my act, or I was, or I made some big mistakes and I went to God and I started praying and talking about it, people are like, whoa, you can't say that. And it's like, you start thinking like, have we really gotten or become that narcissistic, that vain, and that godless in our society? Because you can talk about everything else, but if you start talking
You're ugly and fat and I poop.
Stop saying, just go outside.
Let's go.
You must go now. Anyway, go outside, Sabrina. Close the door, please, don't let the air out, even though it's a nice day. But it's funny because that's the kind of stuff that we do, and that's what we glamorize, and we can talk about all kinds of things. I'm not saying they're right or wrong, but you can have this demographic of people that feel like, well, we've been disenfranchised, we need to have our voice, and everyone wants to support them, and that's great. Obviously, I'm a person of color. You want some support there. You want some support in the LGBTQ communities and all this other things like that, and that's great. And there's a lot of people that have been overlooked in our society that make our society what it is in a better way, and sometimes a worse way, but sometimes mostly a better way because we're all contributing in some facet. But to say, I thank God, or I won't put God first. No one's doing that in TV shows unless it's a faith-based show or some sort of Joel Osteen or something on one of those Hallmark channels. No one's doing that. And everyone acts like it's bad. It's like, you just said what? I'm like, you could say everything else. I could throw out the words from here to there, and everybody would be, for the most part, okay with that. And they would almost let their children listen to that, which is kind of crazy. That's what happens. You just saw my kids. They probably heard me say all kinds of things. Not in my best times or worst times, but such is life. You're a parent. You can't be perfect all the time. But it's so weird that you can't just say, hey, I had to get on my knees and pray today. Is that some stuff going on? Or, hey, I just woke up feeling the joy of the Lord, and I had to get on my knees. I couldn't even just pray in bed. I said, you know what? You need to get out of this bed and get on your knees and just thank God. Don't ask for shit. Just say thank you. And it's so funny because for the most part, a lot of people sometimes feel that way, but they don't feel inclined to say it, or they feel like, hey, especially if you're in the public eye, if you're doing anything that way, like I might lose some fan base. It's like saying like, I might be a pedophile. Please don't mess that up and edit it wrong. But for real, that's just how it is. And it's like, for real, for the creator of the universe, the creator of everything, whether you believe or whether you don't believe. If you don't believe, I'm not saying you should. I'm not saying you have to. I'm not pushing that down your throat. But if someone were hurting your family, if your kid were dying or something, everybody's going to end up on their knees praying. Like, hey, I don't come here very often, but if there's a God, God help me out. It's like you believe when you have to believe, when it inclines you, when it suits your purpose, instead of just understanding that there is something. I'm not saying, you got to put a name on it or whatever, but I mean, there's a God, in my opinion. In my opinion, this is all in my opinion. But I just wanted to kind of make that, just kind of mention that today because it was on my heart. And it's like, man, making God a footnote, because some people thank God, and it's great, but they literally just kind of throw it out there and they mean it, I want to thank God. They're like, I want to thank so-and-so and so, and thank God. And they're looking around, make sure no one's uncomfortable. And we live in a society now where everybody's either uncomfortable or pissed off that they're not being accepted. Who cares about being accepted? I know who I'm accepted with, and I know what's important to me for the most part. I mean, and some of you that might know me and see this, a lot of things are important to me. Sometimes not the best things, but hey, when I love. Anyway, but I just wanted to throw that out. Think about it. A little something to think about, a little food for thought. And so I'm calling this also, that's a new segment called Food for Thought, where you kind of just push something out into the universe or throw it out there. And if anybody looks at it, see what they have to say. Whether it's good, whether it's bad, it's all neutral, but it's like, what do you think about it? And finding a good place of neutrality to grow and evolve. And that Pop-Tart, it's not treating me so good. I had some orange juice and cranberry juice too. That acid reflux, it's not working out too well. I usually never eat stuff like that. But food for thought. Think about it. What do you think? If you see this, like and subscribe. I'm sorry my eyes are still a little jaundiced. I look kind of crazy. I'm like, ah. But it's good. And to know who's important and to know what's important, family, friends, and people that you don't know. Just remember this in the word for the day. I was watching Joel Osteen. He said this the other day, and I believe it to be true. When you help others, God's going to help you. Just think about that. When you help others and you give to others freely and cheerfully and willingly, because that's what we're supposed to do. It's not a charitable thing. That's what you're supposed to do. God is going to help you. The creator of the universe is going to help you. That's some stuff, right? That's crazy. So get out there, help somebody. Do something for somebody else. Let's stop living inside of our own painting, like our pain and our frustration and our finances and whatever problems we have and our strives are the most important things in the world. And we're the only people dealing with that, because no matter what you're dealing with and no matter who you are, you're not alone in your suffering. You're not alone in your happiness. There's always going to be somebody else out there with the same thing or more adverse circumstances. So let's see if we can spread something good instead of all this me, I. Anyway, thanks for watching me. I really appreciate it. Like and subscribe. Have a great day.